Hey everyone, welcome to Our Small Footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family that lives off-grid in Australia. It is Tuesday, and tomorrow I go for my monthly, 6-weekly grocery shop. So I normally share all my planning and stuff. Now, I did record some cooking yesterday that I don't have any particular plans for, of things that I was doing to try and use up the stuff that's in the cupboard before I go on the shop. I can't even really remember. It was only yesterday, and I did English muffins and breakfast sausage patties and some fried chicken and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that clip in here, and that was yesterday's prep. I did a few things this morning that I tried out. I did pancake bake. I'll put a photo here, and I also tried making my sweet potato muffin brownie bake without steaming the sweet potato first, and it worked out really well. So I will share that again later, but I made them this morning. I'll put a couple of photos in here, and then all the cooking that I did yesterday using up stuff and creating more food for everyone to have while I'm gone. So I'm going to put that clip in here with all that stuff from yesterday, and then I'm going to come back and show you the planning that I've done so far for the shop that we're going to do. It is a Monday morning, and Darryl hosts DMs a D&D game on Monday mornings. This is to do with the business that he runs in converting D&D. So he advertises some of the bigger clients that we convert stuff for, and streams it and YouTubes it and things like that, and allows it to be seen and to advertise us as converters as well as the publishers that we're converting work for. So he does that on a Monday morning, and it runs from about 9 till about 12, 1 o'clock. So during that time, normally I spend time away from my desk just so that I'm not making excess noise. The kids all currently have an English class at the same time. All 5 children have English at the same time, so they are all sitting through a live lesson at the moment. So I thought I would duck outside and make some English muffins. So I'm going to make English muffins. I have pork mince that I have defrosted in the fridge, and I'm going to turn that into breakfast sausage patties. So I thought I'd make a big batch of English muffins as well, because they can be thrown in the freezer for while I'm gone later in the week too, and that gives the kids breakfast. Always got heaps of eggs, so they can always just do eggs. I think there's a couple of kilos of bacon left, so bacon, eggs, whatever they want, and the sausage patties if we've got them. Depends on how many. I think I've got another bag of mince, so I could always probably do a second bag up, or pull it out and they can cook some up while I'm gone, whatever works. So I'm going to start off with some English muffins and get that done this morning, so that I can do a whole bunch of admin work all afternoon, because I need to catch up on that before I go for the shopping trip, because I don't get a chance to do it while I'm gone. So I need to get to a certain point so that Darryl can take over on the converting side of things before I leave. So the plan is to spend the couple of hours that he's doing his game this morning getting his kitchen stuff out of the way. I do have to do my inventory and stuff. I might do that tomorrow morning before I plan my actual trip. And then, last minute bits and pieces before I head off. So let's get into it. We'll start with the English muffins. All right, I'm just warming up the kettle because I use some, I shook that and that was silly. Some coconut cream out of the fridge. So we got some cooler temperatures. So we got some warm water going in as well. So I do half milk, half water. So 400 grams of milk or cream. This is cream, which is why it's as thick as it is. I might just do 300 and then do a little bit of extra water because that is so thick. Okay. So I'm just waiting on that water. In the meantime, we're going to put about 40 grams of sugar. We're going to do 80 grams of oil, 20 grams of salt, and 20 grams of yeast. And we're just going to check this water, take it just a little bit warmer, and then we need flour. All right, 400 grams. We're going to do 500 grams because we reduced that cream a little bit. So 500 grams of water, and then 1100 grams of flour. Now I could do a double batch, like I could do a second batch of this, and I regularly do when I'm doing English muffins because they last really well, but I don't know that I've got time because I have to, you can cook these in the oven, but they're just not as nice. They're so much nicer done on the cast iron pan individually. So that's the way I'm going to do it, which means that it's a bit time consuming. So I'm only going to do this, it's a single batch for me, but it's probably a double batch for most people. But I quite often double the double batch just to have extras. But I'm going to stick with this size of it. They still have flatbreads left as well, so that can go in the freezer for them to use too. So I'm just going to bring this together with the dough hook when I find it, and then I'll come back. Now I have my breakfast sausage spice mix that I use recipe up on the website. I'll link it. The English muffins are as well, actually. This is leftovers from last time. I'm going to top up this jar because I may as well while I'm waiting for dough to proof and everything else. So what I do is I make a batch up that is worth about 7 kilos of mince, because that's around about the size of a roast, which works out around about 40 grams of mix per kilo, around about. So 40 grams of mix per kilo. So I'm going to add to this another 7 kilos worth, just top it up and then use 40 grams of it as I need it. So we're going to do that. So first up, we have some, now breakfast sausage mix is inherently sweet. You can use whatever sweetener you want. I'm going to add sugar to this because that saves me adding maple syrup to the sausage when I'm making it. But maple syrup is always really nice, but you just have to remember to add it when you're mixing the mix up. Whereas if I'm adding sugar now, then that works. I do have some maple flavor too, so I can add a drop of that to the mince if I wanted to get that maple flavor. But just to make life simple, I'm just adding the sugar to the mix. So for that 7 kilos, it ends up being about 75 grams of sugar, preferably brown sugar. I don't have any brown sugar mixed up at the moment, but I am going to put a tiny little bit of molasses in there, which is going to mimic that brown sugar flavor, and there'll be enough in there that I can shake that up and work it through that. So now we need 20 grams of sage. We have 20 grams of thyme. Everyone's spice mixtures for breakfast sausage is different. This is just what we like. 20 grams of thyme. We've got 20 grams of onion/garlic powder. Now this already has some garlic powder in it, but I haven't picked up that spice order yet, so I'm just going to top it up with some onion powder. A lot of breakfast sausages don't have garlic in them at all. I like it, so I add it, but I'm just going to go with onion for this particular one because I don't have any garlic at the moment. So we're going to put 20 grams of onion garlic mix in there as well. We're going to add some pepper, some cracked pepper. What have we got in here? Not very much by the looks of it. That was only, is there any in the other one? Nope. So I need to crack some pepper if I want to add more pepper in there. This is too slow. I need to crack bulk pepper. We want 35 grams of smoked paprika. And then we just need our coarse salt. So I have flaked salt here, which is what I use. And we want 70 grams of that. And then we're just going to put the lid on and mix this up. And there you go. You got my version of English breakfast sausage spice mix. So now I need to grab out that mince and see how much we've got and add that to it. All right, so I think I froze it in 2 kilo bags. So, and there's still a few ice crystals in it, but it's mostly defrosted. So this was minced from the cheap Costco rolled roasts. One of the ways that I use them is by mincing and turning into a variety of different things. All right, so 2 kilos of that nice coarse minced fatty pork mince, which will make a really good breakfast sausage. And then to that, we want to add 80 grams of the mixed flavored spice mix. So there's a fair whack of quantity. So that's 40 grams. That's what would go in 1 kilo. Fair whack of quantity because of the lots of the larger, like the sage takes up a lot of room with not a lot of weight and things like that. So 2 lots of 40, there we go. And that's sort of used a large chunk of the jar, which is why I make up as much as I do. And now all I need to do is spread that through. Now there is some chunks of some of the spices, and you could alleviate that by using the Thermomix to blend them up, or the KitchenAid or whatever else, but I'm not worried about it being exact. This is for us. Like, it's not like I'm serving it to someone who expects it to be exactly the same every time, because if anyone expected that in this house, they would be sadly mistaken. Darryl always says that even when I cook exactly the same thing 2 times running, it tastes different. I don't know. I think that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think it has its pros and its cons. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this seasoning mix is dispersed all the way through the mince. And then I might cook a little patch of it off and give it a taste and see if it needs a little bit more, but that is the ratios that I work on normally. So it should be enough, but at the same time, it's always a good idea to cook a little tiny bit of your seasoned meat up, especially if you're going to put it in sausage casings. Cook a little bit of that seasoned meat up before you go to all the effort of putting it in sausage casings and then realizing that your sausages are a little more bland than you expected. That's all blended through. I'm going to put a lid on this and put it aside for a little bit and just let that mince warm up a little bit before I start trying to form it into patties or of any sort. All right, so I've had my dough in the oven with the pilot light on because it's quite chilly, but this dough has ended up quite significantly wet. It's coming out of the container okay though, but it's going to take a little bit of handling. Now, having it nice and wet's not a bad thing for English muffins, because English muffins can end up quite dense. But a lot of people like to roll their dough out and then cut their English muffins out of it, which this would not be much good for. But I tend to shape mine. I have found it easier to shape mine into rounds. So I'm going to do what I normally do. I've got a little bit of flour down. I'm just going to scoop that little bit of flour onto the surface so that we've got an easier to work with surface. And then I'm going to turn these into English muffins. I'll probably do them about, I reckon, 75 grams per English muffin. I can't remember what I normally do with them. And we're going to really gently use this dough, really gently shape it and gently place it on a tray to puff up slightly for 20-30 minutes before I then cook them off in the cast iron pan. Now, they do rise a bit in the cast iron pans, so this second proofing isn't as lengthy required, but we still want them to puff a little bit. I'm going to use a little bit of semolina on the baking tray because that's always nice to give that crispy external on the English muffins as well as they're cooking, and it will help them to stop sticking on as they do their next proof. I'm going to try not to handle the dough overly much, so I need to try and guesstimate the size. So once I figure out, so that's about 80, so we'll go for around about that size, and all we're doing is bring it into a circle like I normally do, nice and gentle, and we're just going to place it on the tray and flatten it out slightly and let it do its thing. And I'm just going to do that with all of them. Alright, so I'm going to heat up the cast iron pans, and then we're going to put the ones that have been sitting the longest on there, and all I do is place them on the pan and then put lid on for them to cook. Now I normally use the trays as the lid because it seals it a bit better, but we'll see how these lids go because they've all got gaps on the corners. We'll see how well this works, but I normally just use the trays upside down, but I'm using the trays to put the English muffins on. So, and they need 4 to 6 minutes on each side. Alright, first batch are always a bit hard to judge, but they smell like they're, there we go. So we got that nice crispy cooked side that's puffed up nicely. We've got bubbles forming on top. They look pretty good to me. So I'm going to flip those and reset the timer for another 4 and then have a look at them at the end of the 4. Alright, we've got 3.5 minutes on the other side and we're starting to get some darker colour, so I'm going to pull them off, but they look good, so that I'm going to turn this pan down slightly so that we make sure we get them cooked in the middle, even if without burning them. So I've just turned that pan down. I'm going to leave them there for another just 30 seconds just to make sure they're cooked in the middle. Check these ones as well. Again, they get some really good colour on the other side. Starting to burn, so we need to adjust the pan. So like I said, first batch of these is always a bit like when you do your first batch of pancakes. The first ones is when you test out the temperature of the pans, which is going to be most suitable. So then I'm going to put these all on a rack and then just fill the pan with the next lot. And because I only did as many as I did, we're looking at only 3 more pans full, so that's not too bad. Shaped the sausage patties into about 90-gram balls, and I'm just flattening them on the cast iron pan and getting them nice and crispy on the outside, making sure they're cooked through. And I'm just going to cook them all off because this mince was minced and then frozen and then defrosted, so I don't want to sit the mince in the fridge for any length of time. So I'm going to cook it, and then we've got a couple of days of it being able to go in the fridge, or it can go in the freezer. Yeah, and I've just fried off a whole bunch of eggs, so we're going to put the eggs, the meat patties in a tray and the English muffins, and that is lunch today, and then leftovers can be put away for the next couple of days. Right, dinner time. Now we have plenty of English muffins and sausage patties left, and I still haven't frozen the butter chicken in portions yet. So we could have those because I've spent all afternoon inside, but I have defrosted these chicken breasts and they need using, and the whole point of making the other stuff in bulk was so that it would be left for them to use while I'm gone and stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling these chicken breasts out, and then we'll cook these up, and they can also be an added extra. So I'm just cutting them into strips because what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick them in some soy, ginger, garlic mix and let them sit for 5 minutes, 10 minutes while I cut up some potato, and I will do mashed potato steamed veg, and I will dredge these in potato starch, really super simple, and cook them in the oil that I've got left from something I did, chips or something. So I've got a pot with oil in it that is perfect for another use, still sitting on my stove with a lid on it. I like to use it at least a few times before discarding. So I'm going to just do some crispy chicken. We normally use the lemon chung sauce on these. I'm not sure if I've got any at the moment. We're coming into winter, so I should be able to get some citrus this month while shopping, I think. So if I can, I will make some more lemon chung up, which is basically just a Korean lemon, pretty sure it's Korean lemon sauce, which is whole lemon pieces and sugar macerated in a jar. That's pretty much it. And it is so good, so fresh and lemony, and tastes absolutely perfect on crispy chicken, like a Asian chicken style dish over rice and veg. I'm going to do potatoes, not rice, because we have a bunch of potatoes that still need using from last month. It has been cool enough that they have not gone bad. So mash, veg, crispy chicken, lemon sauce if I've got it, but if not, sweet chili sauce maybe, or I'll do some mayo or something. But I just had this 2 kilo bag of chicken breasts defrosted that needed using. So, and I just want something fairly quick but tasty. All right, so all the chicken's cooked, cut in here. I'm just going to put a splash of soy, and I've got this mixed garlic ginger. I'm going to put a generous amount of that in here. That needs to go back in the fridge, and just get it all sorted. So I've washed my board and my bench and stuff. I'm going to cut up, I'm going to let that sit for 15 while I get the potato going. I might turn the oil on to heat while I'm waiting as well. So I'm just going to put that aside and grab a steaming pot for potatoes. And the smaller I dice these, the quicker they cook. So all I do is cut them up nice and fine so that they'll cook, and then we'll mash them. So super simple. We've just got a cup of potato starch, and I'll do about half a tablespoon of pepper and the same of salt, maybe a little bit more salt. And then just, I'll get a whisk, gonna dredge the chicken and fry it. And this just gives it a really lovely, crunchy, simple coating. I could do batters, I could do crumbing, but this just, it just works. Gives me an excuse to use this oil up, use the chicken up, all that kind of stuff. So this is what we're doing. I got the oil heated up to 175 Celsius, 350 odd Fahrenheit, and threw the chicken in. And look, that was such a super simple method. And we've got this gorgeously crunchy, very lightly coated chicken. So that's the thing too, is this coating is super light. And that's part of why we like it, because you've got this mostly chicken with just this really light crunch on the outside, which lends itself well to if you're putting a sticky sauce on it, like a plum sauce or a lemon sauce or something. So all I do is I just very lightly dredge it, shake it all off, and place it in the oil. Being careful not to overload the pot. So it takes me a few batches to do it, which is why I don't do deep fried stuff very often, but probably why we enjoy it even more when I do it, because it is such a rarity. So there we go, another batch done. All right, so that was yesterday's kitchen endeavours. Now, in regards to planning, I've spent the morning trying to catch up on some work that needs to be done before I go, but I've also done my inventories and everything else. Now, I still haven't found the most ideal way to share this yet. Every month I say I need to figure out a better way to film it and share it, but that's fine. I went through all my shelves and reorganized it and checked out what was in all the different barrels. So I went across I'll put some photos in here, across the black shelves that have all my canned goods and things like that. And then we have totes throughout in various storage spaces, and they have dry goods and stuff in them. So, a tote that has all the coffee and oats and all the pastas and miscellaneous dried beans and all that. A lot of this stuff needs to be put in jars and vacuum sealed and things like that, but I don't necessarily have the jars available for it, or I actually need new vacuum seal bags for my chamber vacuum sealer, but I also need to figure out where to put the chamber vacuum sealer because the dehydrator is now where it was sitting. So we're still organising that. Again, the roof for here and reorganising is just, it's on the cards, it just never seems to get to the top of the list. So I went through all my different tubs and my shelves and everything and checked all of that out. I haven't been through the freezer yet. I will do that shortly, but I mostly know what's in there. It just needs reorganizing so that I can pull stuff out to be defrosted for Darryl to cook for the 2 nights and days that I'm not here. Easily, though there is all the food that I've just shared, the butter chicken from the other day, as well as the English muffins and all that sort of stuff, and that I made in preparation for them to be able to use over the next few days as well. I updated my spreadsheet, so I have an inventory spreadsheet that I do. You can download it on the website if you want to. Let me see if I can figure out angles here. So this is my inventory sheet, and I fill it out each month, and I have 3 different categories. I have what I've got left on the shelf, I have the base amount of whatever I like to keep, and then what I need to bring my numbers back to the base amount. Now, my base amounts have changed because I was doing the 8 to 10 week shopping, and now I'm doing sort of 4-6 week shopping, but we've only just started doing that, and so I'm still having a few issues with bringing things back into line. My color coding is for where I generally buy things, so these dark pink are generally from Coles or Woolworths, the pale blue is from Aldi, the darker blue is from Costco, and there's some green on here that I buy from Big W with my discount there, though Big W doesn't do the 10% discount anymore, so I may not go to that much effort in future, but for the moment I've just left it as is. So I updated my spreadsheets to change out some of the stuff that was in my categories because there was some stuff that I had changed over time that I wasn't necessarily using, and I've updated my base amounts as well to try and reflect a little bit more based on what I've been using. So there's certain things like the pesto that I buy from Aldi. I normally buy 12 to 18 of the pesto a month, and we go through quite a few of it, and then I can't even find where it is this at the moment, but this month we still have like 18 left on the shelf down here. So we still have 18 pesto still left on the shelf because I bought a 12 pack again last shopping trip because that's what I'd normally buy, but we've got a whole lot less time. But also I made all that spinach pesto up, so we've had that as well. So there's certain things that we just haven't gone through anywhere near the quantity that we would normally. I still have plenty of rolled oats, even though we've had plenty of porridge and everything else, there's still plenty there, and things like that. So some things we've gone through a little bit more, some things we haven't gone through as much, and it's all a little bit of a juggling process still. And I'm working on, figuring out exactly what needs to be bumped and what needs to be dropped, but also because I'm spending a little bit less because I'm going more often, having a backup of things, so like being able to have extras and know, so my base numbers might be slightly higher than what I would use in a month, but the whole point is so that I've got that there for the next month as well, so I don't have to worry about if we don't make it to a shop or something like that. There's always that little bit of extra, because shopping the every 8 to 10 weeks that I had been doing, I was using everything we had. There was no extra. I was using to the last can of things and still running out by the end. We did run out of, we're on the last bag of coffee beans this month, so I definitely need to bump the quantity of those that I'm buying. Over winter we tend to use more coffee beans than the rest of the time, and things like that, but I've gone through and I've adjusted some numbers, I've adjusted some quantities that we have and that I might like to get and things like that, and added a few things onto my list that I have been using more but haven't always had on hand and things like that. And so I will go through this now and I will do a click and collect with Coles and Woolworths for any of those items to be dropped off at Mum's tomorrow evening by the time I get there, and then that way I can assess what does and doesn't get delivered and buy the extras on Thursday in person. I also generally do my little planner thing here, except that I haven't really done it this month. So previous months, this is the sort of thing I do. I have some ideas on meals I might like to cook. And actually, when I look at this, I think, you know, I didn't end up doing the Keto Crumb Kiev, so I'll probably do them this month. And then, you know, bits and pieces that I've marked on here, orders and things like that. But this month, I've been a bit behind on everything else, and I really haven't filled much out. It's pretty empty. The only thing I really know is that Apollo requested a mic stand for his mic. I would like to make some apple butter barbecue, and I suppose there's a couple of other things like we were talking about in the cooking that I just did, that I need some more lemon chung. So if I can get some lemons cheap, I'll make some more lemon chung. I haven't even checked the half price sales on Coles and Woolworths because I just haven't got around to it. So half price stuff starts on a Wednesday, which means that if I do a click and collect today, I can get last week's specials. But then if I go in person tomorrow, I get next week's specials. So I normally double check any specials just to make sure that there's anything that I want to catch. But realistically, this shop is going to be probably pretty small and pretty simple. So I haven't even got around to doing this month. So the planning this month has been really, really basic. I think that the shop will be quite small. The only other thing is meat. So I've got some boneless chickens left in the freezer, a bit of pork mince, a bit of beef mince, and the pork roast that's chunked up to use in the pressure cooker. A couple of bags of chicken breasts and a 2-kilo bag of chicken wings, I think. That's about it in all of the freezers to do with meat. That was because we did that big bulk meat order before I did the last shop, and we've been using that all the way through. So what I think I plan to do is do a bulk meat order for probably a fortnight after I get back. So I will only buy bits and pieces of meat for that sort of fortnight span, and then do the bulk meat order that fortnight afterwards. Money wise, it just works out because it's after YouTube pays, because YouTube only pays once a month. But also it just saves me having to cart too much meat home and then get it sorted. We'll see. I'll make the call. It depends on if there's any big specials at the butcher and things like that too. And sometimes I just get a little carried away when I'm actually doing the shopping. So it's hard. It still is very much a learning curve of swapping from that sort of 8 to 10 week shopping period back to the 4 to 6. And I definitely overbought last shopping trip, and I know that because by the dollar per, like, it was huge for the weeks that it covered. But I think that now it'll come right back, though I think it'll still be higher than, like, it still won't be low, because I think I'll end up buying extras to go on the shelves and to be put away and things like that, to have that buffer that we haven't had for a long time, which is part of the reason to bring that 4 to 6 week back, is to have that buffer. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. Not a lot of planning has gone on to this trip. This trip is definitely going to be a little bit more fly by the seat of my pants, and I think part of that is because of how quickly it's come up too. We've had so much on in the last 6 weeks, because it's been 6 weeks. It's still been a significant amount of time, but 6 weeks compared to 8 or 10. The last one was 10. It has come up quick, and I feel like we've still got plenty of food here because, as I said, I overbought last one. And that's not a bad thing, having plenty of food even at the end of a grocery period, so long as nothing is getting wasted and everything is getting used. So yeah, I will leave it there. I don't know how long this video will go for, because I don't know how long yesterday's stuff was as well, and all the rest of it, but this is Wednesday's video. And then I leave tomorrow, so Friday might be Thursday's shopping. We'll see how we go and how much time I have and all the rest of it. And otherwise it'll be Saturday and you'll get a video. You'll miss Fridays. So we shall see. I am going to try and keep up with posting on Facebook and Instagram. So if you don't follow me over there, if you want to, then I have been really slack, and it's been months between posts, but I have been making a concerted effort to post more regularly there at the moment. So we shall see how we go there as well. But yeah, so thanks for joining me, and I will see you on the next one. Bye guys.